What would you say if one simple answer during a traffic stop could put you in handcuffs tonight? Here's the reality. Most charges do not start with some genius police move. They start because you talk, guess, explain, and fill the silence for them. Hit subscribe right now because the lines you're about to hear could keep your own mouth from building a case against you. And tap like so you can find this fast when your heart is pounding and you need the words. As a former detective, I can tell you this is where you lose. Not when the lights come on, not when the officer walks up. You lose when you try to sound nice, helpful, or innocent. Let me show you exactly what you need to say, what you should never say, and why your calm little story can turn into probable cause, which just means a reason to search, hold, or charge you. You're going to hear the one line that shuts down phishing questions, the one sentence that blocks consent searches, the question that forces the stop into a yes or no moment, and the mistake that makes good people sound guilty. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and you would be shocked how often people talk themselves into charges they could have avoided. Here's the reality. You think being open helps you. You think if you explain where you were, where you're going, why you're nervous, why there's cash in your pocket, why your friend left a bag in your car, the officer will see you're a decent person. But your traffic stop is not a therapy session. It is an evidence hunt if you let it become one. Most people have no idea how fast a casual question turns into a criminal case. Where you headed becomes a timeline. Have you been drinking becomes an admission. Mind if I look around becomes permission. Once your words are out, you can't pull them back. That is why you need short answers, clear limits, and zero extra talking. Listen closely, because this is critical. Silence feels awkward to you, but silence is often what protects you. The first thing you need to master is stopping the interview before it starts. The officer may sound friendly, he may sound casual, he may even joke with you. But if the questions move past your license, registration, and insurance, you are now in the danger zone. The exact line you need is this. Officer, I choose to remain silent. Word for word. Memorize that line. If the questioning keeps going, add this. I want a lawyer before answering questions. Keep it calm. Keep it flat. Keep it boring. Why does that work for you? Because the law cares about clarity. If you just sit there, shrug, or look away, that is not always enough. Berghuis versus Tompkins made that painfully clear. In plain English, the Supreme Court said you must clearly say you want to stay silent. If you keep listening and then answer later, the court may treat that like you gave up the right. That is insane to a lot of people, but that is how it works. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. Bad way. Most drivers say, I only had one beer, or I'm just coming from my friend's place, or I'm nervous because I've never been pulled over. Then their own words become the reason the officer keeps digging. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I choose to remain silent. Then the fishing trip loses fuel, and you stop handing over evidence for free. You do not have to be rude. You do not have to argue. You do not have to win some debate on the roadside. You just have to stop helping build the case. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because they know every extra sentence creates risk for you. If you say you had just one drink, you admitted drinking. If you say you were only holding it for a friend, you admitted you knew the item existed. If you say, I forgot it was in there, you just tied yourself to the thing they found. Watch what happens when people ignore this. They try to explain away the smell, the bag, the cash, the text message, the late hour, the neighborhood, the passenger, the old arrest, the shaky hands, and every explanation gives the officer more pieces. You think you are cleaning things up. You are actually connecting dots for them. Now watch what happens when you use the line the right way. The officer asks where you're coming from. You say, Officer, I choose to remain silent. He asks if there is anything illegal in the car. You say, Officer, I choose to remain silent. He asks why you're nervous. Same line. Calm voice, same face, same answer. This is 100% legal. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because it cuts off the story before your own words become the evidence. Have you ever felt pressure to keep talking just to seem innocent? Tell me in the comments, because that pressure is exactly how you get trapped. The second tactic is the sentence that blocks the easiest search of your life. You need this one burned into your brain. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. And word for word. Memorize that line too, not I'd rather you didn't. Not, is that really needed? Not, I guess if you have to. You need a clean, clear no. Say it once. Say it calmly, then stop. Why is this so huge for you? Because officers ask for consent all the time when they do not yet have enough legal reason to search. If you say yes, you just opened the door yourself. Schneckloth v. Bustamante is the case you need to know. In plain English, the Supreme Court said a consent search can still count even if you did not know you had the right to refuse. Read that again in your head. You do not get a do-over because you were nervous. If you say yes, the search may stand. Bad way? Most drivers say, sure, I've got nothing to hide. Then the officer searches everything, finds something old, forgotten, borrowed, or misunderstood, and now you're explaining items instead of driving home. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer has to stand on actual legal grounds instead of your permission. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Your refusal can protect you even if they search anyway. If they search without your consent, your lawyer can later fight about whether they truly had a legal reason. But if you gave consent, you just made that fight much harder. That is why you never help them cross that line. Former police officers have confirmed this works because they know how many searches begin with a casual ask and a nervous yes. You may be thinking, but won't saying no make me look guilty? No, saying no makes you look like a person who knows your rights. People say no to searches for all kinds of reasons. Privacy, principle, fear of damage, fear of being blamed for somebody else's junk. This is 100% legal. You are not required to volunteer your car, your trunk, your bag, or your phone because an officer asked nicely. And let me say something blunt for you. I've got nothing to hide is one of the dumbest lines you can say in that moment. Everyone has something that can be twisted. A pill bottle with no label, a friend's backpack, a knife, cash, a text message, a legal item that looks illegal, a lawful firearm stored the wrong way under local rules. Your life is messy because life is messy. Do not confuse innocence with safety. Watch what happens in body cam footage when drivers refuse the right way. The officer may keep pushing, he may ask again, he may phrase it softer, he may act annoyed. But your job is not to comfort him, your job is to protect you. So if he asks again, you repeat, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Same tone. No speech, no debate, no excuses. That clean refusal is often the wall that keeps a routine stop from becoming a criminal file with your name on it. The third tactic is how you stop a traffic stop from stretching into a roadside investigation. You look at the officer and say this, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Those exact words. Keep them ready. This line matters after the ticket tasks are done or when you feel the officer is dragging things out with random questions. You are asking for a clear answer. Either you are still legally held or you should be allowed to go. Why does this help you? Because traffic stops are supposed to be tied to the reason for the stop. Rodriguez v. United States is the big case here. In plain English, the Supreme Court said police cannot keep you longer than needed for the traffic mission just to sniff around for other crimes unless they have a real extra reason. That means they cannot turn a broken taillight into a never-ending interview just because you stayed polite and kept talking. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, I can wait, or yeah, ask whatever you need, or I'm in no rush. Then the stop keeps growing and more time means more questions, more pressure, and more chances for you to slip. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to either end the stop or clearly say why you are still being held. This line does something powerful for you. It forces the moment into the open. If the officer says you are free to go, you leave. If the officer says you are detained, now everyone is on record. That matters later. It shows the stop did not keep drifting on your polite silence. It also stops you from volunteering into more trouble. Legal experts know that time is the officer's friend and your enemy in these moments. You should not use this line in a rude or dramatic way. Do not say it 5 seconds into the stop. Do not bark it like you are trying to start a fight. Use it when the documents are checked, the warning or ticket appears done, and the officer shifts into side questions. Where are you headed? Mind if I ask one more thing? Got anything illegal in the car? That is your moment. You ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Let me show you exactly why this matters. A lot of drivers think if they stay nice long enough, the officer will return the favor. Sometimes that happens. A lot of times it does not. The questions keep coming because your answers keep the door open. The stop gets longer. A second unit shows up. A dog gets called. A passenger starts talking. Your own patience becomes the bridge to a bigger problem. So do not drift into that trap. Ask the question and make the stop become what it legally is, not what the officer hopes it turns into. If you've made it this far, you're serious about protecting yourself. Show me by hitting that like button, because what you're about to hear next ties all of this together. The fourth tactic is simple, but you need it because this is where you talk yourself into trouble without even noticing. Give the required basics and nothing else. Your line is this: I will provide my license, registration, and insurance, and I am not discussing my day. That is clean. That is calm. That is safe for you. Hebel v. 6th Judicial District Court matters here. In plain English, the Supreme Court said that during a lawful stop, some states can require you to identify yourself, but that does not mean you have to narrate your life story. It does not mean you need to answer where you slept, who was in your car earlier, why you were in this neighborhood, why your eyes look red, or why your friend texted you. You can handle the basic ID part and still stop the conversation from becoming evidence. Bad way. Most drivers say, I'm heading home from my cousin's place, and yeah, my buddy was in the car earlier, but that bag is his. Then they place themselves at the scene, tie themselves to the bag, and hand over a timeline. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will provide my license, registration, and insurance, and I am not discussing my day. Then the officer gets the basics without getting your story. You need to understand why stories hurt you. Stories have details. Details can be checked. If one little part is wrong because you are scared, tired, or guessing, now you look deceptive. Even innocent people mess up times, names, routes, and dates, but police reports love neat little contradictions. That is why you keep your lane narrow. Documents, silence, no story. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it keeps you from becoming your own worst witness. And if you are tempted to lie, do not. Lying can become a separate problem, and bad lies sound guilty fast. Your best move is not a clever story. Your best move is a short lawful limit. You are not there to entertain. You are not there to convince. You are there to get through the stop without feeding it. Let me put the legal backbone under everything you just heard so you know this is not internet fantasy. Berghuis vs. Tompkins tells you that if you want silence to protect you, you need to say it clearly. Just sitting there is not always enough. That is why, Officer, I choose to remain silent matters so much for you. Schneckloth versus Bustamante tells you consent searches can count even when you felt pressure and did not fully understand you could refuse. That is why I do not consent to any searches matters so much for you. Rodriguez v. United States tells you a traffic stop cannot drag on just so police can hunt for other crimes without a real extra reason. That is why, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Matters so much for you. And Hebel reminds you that giving basic identity is not the same as giving away your whole story. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, not wishful thinking. When you put these cases together, they all point to the same lesson for you. Clear words protect you. Extra words expose you. Now let me show you exactly how this plays out for you in the real world. You get pulled over for speeding. The officer walks up and asks where you are coming from. Wrong way first. You say, just left a bar, but I only had one beer. He smells alcohol. He now hears an admission from you. He asks if there is anything in the car he should know about. You laugh and say, nothing illegal, I don't think. Now you sound unsure. He asks if he can take a quick look. You say, yeah, go ahead. I've got nothing to hide. He finds a friend's vape pen with oil, an old pill bottle, and a wad of cash. Now your simple traffic stop has turned into a roadside mess you created with your own mouth. Now the right way for you. Same stop, same officer. He asks where you are coming from. You say, Officer, I choose to remain silent. He asks if there is anything illegal in the car. You say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. He asks why you are so nervous. You say, I will provide my license, registration, and insurance, and I am not discussing my day. He goes back, runs your info, writes the warning, then comes back with one more casual question. Mind hanging tight for a minute? You ask him, am I being detained or am I free to leave? That forces the stop into the open. Either he has a real reason or you go. That is how you stop a chatty stop from becoming a charge. And yes, your voice matters. Stay calm, keep your hands visible, do not argue, do not use sarcasm, do not reach around, do not try to be a lawyer on the shoulder of the road. Your goal is simple. Protect your rights now and let your lawyer handle the fight later if needed. When you do that, you stop being easy to build a case on. Next week, I'm revealing what to say when an officer claims they smell weed coming from your car. Subscribe right now so you do not miss that one, because that claim changes everything for you in seconds. So here is your recap, and you need to keep it simple for you. First, when the questions start fishing, you say, Officer, I choose to remain silent. Second, when they ask to look around, you say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Third, when the stop starts dragging, you ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Fourth, you give the basic documents and not your life story. You do those 4 things, and you stop donating evidence with your own mouth. That is the whole game for you. Short words, clear limits, 0 extra talking. Hit subscribe so you catch that next video on the weed smell claim. Smash that like button if this script just saved your future self from a bad stop. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe, stay calm, and protect your words.